The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe.
Greater Salem, New Hampshire Chamber of Commerce presents Success in the 603, a podcast focusing on Granite Staters who have had success in the public or private sector. We'll hear stories of how these people came to be, where they are, and what you can do to get there too. Sit back and enjoy. You are in wicked awesome company.
Well, welcome everyone. You are indeed in wicked awesome company. We're very glad to have our guest today. My name is Donna Morris. I serve as the president of the Greater Salem Chamber of Commerce, and welcome back to Success in the 603, where we are bringing you stories of different people throughout the state of New Hampshire who, what are their secrets to success, how they got there, sharing a little bit of insight, and sharing stories. And my co-host?
My name is Craig Dufton. I'm with United Compressor, and I'm also a realtor with Keller Williams. And I'm excited to be here today. We're at the top of Two Guys Smoke Shop. We fail to mention that too often, and we really shouldn't, because we got a gift today. We are a legitimate podcast. If you can see this live, we have our own Success in the 603 business cards to hand out to people. So this is fantastic. If you want one, come down to the studio.
It was very nice of them to give us that Christmas present.
It's exciting. Thank you, Ed. You know, you're the silent one on our show.
That was all the boss man's idea. So.
All right. Well, we'll thank David too. David Garofalo, great guy. Please come down here. Watch us here in the studio anytime you like. We're here at 3:30 on Thursdays. We're not on 3:30s because there's no such thing. So today we're with Tom Taylor, President and CEO of Foxx Life Sciences, and he's also the President and CEO of Lab Rat Gifts, a really cool little science. What would you call it? A science gift shop?
We call it the world's largest science-themed gift store.
All right, so much better. Yeah. All right, I'm going to let Tom talk now. I'm going to just sit here and enjoy this podcast. So, thank you for being here. You're a Wyndhamite. You're a 603er. We appreciate that. And your company moved to New Hampshire, I believe, right from Massachusetts.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And what was the reasoning for that?
Well, I actually grew up in Michigan, and I had the opportunity to come out to the East Coast to work for a company called Millipore in Bedford, Massachusetts. And it may sound crazy, but I had Money Magazine, and they had the best places to live, and Nashua, New Hampshire was rated #1 best spot in America to live. So sure enough, when I came out, went to Nashua, and with the no state income tax, no sales tax, no helmet law, no seatbelt law.
Live free or die, baby.
Live free or die, all the things we love about the 603.
Yeah.
I said, this is perfect. I was an hour from Boston, an hour to the ocean, and I had the skiing up north and the lakes, and fell in love with New Hampshire. I've been here over 25 years. So when I had the opportunity with this company to get it up to New Hampshire, I wanted it one exit away from Wyndham, so we're located in 6 Delaware Drive right here in Salem, New Hampshire.
We're Delaware Drive roommates.
You know that
basically.
too well,
yes,
right?
Yeah. My company's been there since 2006.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's digress, because we'll get to all the cool stuff that goes on over at Foxx Life Sciences, because there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on there. Go back. We're in Michigan. Graduated from school there, I assume, maybe Michigan State or something, or where'd you go?
So I grew up right outside of Flint, Michigan. It's well known now for the water issue that they recently had, but in its day, in the early 1900s, you had Chevrolet there, Buick was founded there, Fisher Body was there. So a big part of General Motors is actually from Flint. And town very similar size to Manchester, but we had 16 automotive manufacturing facilities there.
Wow.
So when you went to high school, in your class of 30, it was probably 27 of the kids that parents worked for GM in one shape or another. So with that, I grew up on a little dirt road in a 750 square foot house, and my father was in the automotive industry. Luckily, he ended up going to GMI and moved up the corporate ladder, but he started out on the assembly line, was the first in his family to get a bachelor's degree, and by the time he was midway through his career, he had 4,500 people working for him.
Wow.
So it's quite a success story on his own.
We have to have him on.
Yeah, and my mom was a nurse. She went to University of Michigan, and she finished first in her class, so she was the smart one. And when I grew up, it was always about education, education, education. And with that, she really pushed me to get into all of the different activities in school. And one of the things that I remember quite well was being part of the National Honor Society. It was a big deal.
Sure.
And as part of that, we recruited different universities and colleges to come in to speak with the kids and encourage different clubs and activities, one of which was called Junior Achievement. So I was with the Boy Scouts and Junior Achievement, and with Junior Achievement, though, we were able to get, of course, General Motors to sponsor a group. And we went out and bought aluminum stock, made fixtures, made hangers, real sturdy hangers. And we took these hangers and we sold them door to door. So we went from start to finish, and believe it or not, we made money. And then we took
actual clothes hangers?
Clothes hangers. It all started with clothes hangers, right?
Excellent.
So sure enough, in my mind, the light bulb went off, and I was like, wow, it's not so hard. You buy the raw materials, you make this stuff, you find a product that people have a need for, because the flimsy hangers aren't great, obviously, in the north with your coats and all your heavy stuff. So these things worked out great. So that got me thinking, boy, someday I really want to have my own company. And then I went to college, and I owe that to my father. And he was in the automotive industry, as you all know. The vehicles went from a lot of metal in the 60s to transitioning into that plastics through the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
So they had a real need for plastics engineering people. And so he had me watch The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman. I'm sure you guys remember that.
I do.
And sure enough, very famous scene, and plastics is the future. So we looked into that. There was two schools. There was Lowell Institute of Technology, which is now UMass Lowell, really? And Fair State University in Michigan. And that was sponsored. That program got a lot of sponsorship from Chrysler, GM, Ford, Dow Corning.
It's like a minor league system for their engineering department, right?
So we actually built a big building there and had all the equipment, injection molding, blow molding, all extrusion, and all these other things. So I ended up getting into that program, and that's one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it really opened a lot of opportunities. And while I was at school, my Flint and also the automotive industry was going through quite a transition with offshoring and different things, and the unions and everything else. And it was my mother, who was a nurse, that said, you got to get into medical. If you look at the demographics, if you look at the amount of older people, the 65 and over population continues to grow as a percentage of the population. Medical, in her mind, was a very stable and strong industry. And as you know, with the automotive, you go through these cycles, right? Up and down. And so that was my interest. And sure enough, I graduated out of school, and I ended up taking a job for a company called Gelman Sciences in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And then from there, that got purchased by Pall Corporation, P-A-L-L, big filtration, life science, pharmaceutical disposables. And then from there, that led to I got my MBA. I was actually in the engineering department there, so that was my background. So my focus was a lot of product development. That was always what I felt I was best at, and was always.
You started out with the right product. You built, for pardon my pun, but you built a better mousetrap for people, basically.
Exactly.
And you ran with it, and it just stuck with you ever since. That entrepreneurial spirit was there.
Right, and as you know, I always look at, you got to have hard work, and if you have the hard work, you can create luck. And as part of that, when I was at Gelman, the vice president of sales and marketing got into a big fight with the head of R&D at that company. And he said, and he happened to be the founder's son, so he said, I'm getting 3 engineers to work for me on my projects. And so he picked a plastics engineer, which was myself. I was the only one at the company, and he didn't even know me, and I was only there about a year. And then he picked a packaging engineer from Michigan State and a mechanical engineer from U of M. So the 3 of us were the so-called dream team, and I started working with them, and they had a rule back then that engineers weren't allowed to go and talk to the end user customers. And the reason was that, engineers are too honest. They go out and they tell the truth, whether you can make it or you can't make it.
Whether you can deliver it or you can't deliver it.
Right. So I convinced the VP of, let's go stealth. We'll drive down to Eli Lilly in Indianapolis, and we were working on this project for them for a robotic filter funnel for their business. And we got down there, started working with them, and we were successful with it. And he's like, "You're way too, for an engineer, you can actually talk and communicate." And he goes, "I need you in sales." And I'm like, my mom would kill me if I went into sales, right? That would be a real bad thing back at the Taylor home. So my mom was not a fan of salespeople. We would go to the furniture store, for example, and they'd walk in and she'd be like, "Leave me alone, don't go there." So,
well, all right, I'll give you that. Those kind of salespeople, I'll give you.
But with all that selling Tom Watt and Boy Scouts and all the activities and junior achievement, I got used to talking to people, but at the same time, the product development. So they basically made me a deal I couldn't refuse to sell OEM medical products on the East Coast. So I had the opportunity to move to Nashua, and I picked that spot, but like I had mentioned earlier.
You did your research.
Right,
yep.
And then got my MBA right here at Southern New Hampshire University, and one thing led to another, and next thing I was vice president at Millipore down at Bedford, Mass.
Nice.
For 7 years.
Was that Waters too?
So Waters was part of Millipore, and then what happens is Waters got spun out into its own company, and that turned into quite a big company also. So and that was a great opportunity. Learned a lot there. That's an outstanding company. And then from there, we had a supplier called Nipro that was located out in Clinton, Mass. Very large company, now part of Jabil, and at the time was about a $1.2 billion company. And the CEO there at the time wanted to get into some proprietary products. So I came across from Millipore, started working with them in this medical products group. And from there, we started growing the business and eventually got into the role of president for all their medical products business.
Wow. How old were you at this point in time?
So at Millipore, when I was there, that's part of the story I didn't tell you, but I was actually 31 years old at Millipore, and I had the division, our OEM medical products, and we had like 4 divisions, and the other 3 divisions were all VPs that ran the divisions. But they gave me the director title. And I was like, how come I don't get to be a vice president like the other guys? And they were like, "Oh, Tom, come on, this is a small division. Back then they were very stingy with the titles." So I basically got my boss at the time, the president of the company, Dominique Bali, to bet that if we could become the most profitable division by percentage, that he'd give me that VP title, knowing that we were smaller. We could never be as big as the big guys. So he went for that, and we did a 4-year plan, and luckily enough, by the time I was 34, got the VP title, and I was 10 years younger than any VP in the history of Millipore. So
congratulations.
we were very proud of back then in trying to get that done.
Did you do it in less than 4 years, I assume, too?
So we did. So it was the 3 years.
How do I know these things?
So that really helped out the career. Obviously, we grew that quite a bit, and then from there, I ended up going over to Nipro, and that was in my 40s, all during the Nipro years for that business. So this is where the story gets really interesting, and that is, so I'm at Nipro, we have this medical products group. They end up changing the CEO. The new CEO comes in, working with the founder, and they feel that they're truly a contract manufacturing company. They shouldn't be in the proprietary products. So the idea was to keep what we had, but kind of shelf the other activities. And
let me interrupt you for a second, though. To explain to our audience out there, what are the products that you were selling? Great point.
So Foxx Life Sciences is a products company with a focus on life science disposables and bioprocess disposables, which are sold into the biotech and pharma industry. So we sell, for example, single-use disposables that are used at these pharma and biotech companies. In the past, you'd see all these stainless steel systems and stainless steel bioreactors, very similar to microbreweries. And, if you go to a Budweiser facility or any of these food and beverage type plants, you see the stainless steel. Pharmas were very similar, and they still are today. About 90% of it is set up that way. In the last 5 to 10 years, there's a huge momentum to what's called single use. And the reason is contamination control, the validation cost, and the value of a lot of these vaccines and pharmaceutical substances that they're manufacturing. And what's happened is when you go to the hospital, you're all familiar with the classic IV set that when they run an IV on you and they toss it. Same thing here. Now what they're doing is they're going to these big bag bioreactors with all the tubing sets coming off into carboys and bottles, and they'll run that drug in the manufacturing side, and then they dispose of that whole set, and then they come into the next one. The idea there is that the cost of cleaning all that stainless steel is very expensive. But on top of that, if somebody doesn't clean it properly, you have a contamination issue, and you got to throw out a whole batch of a vaccine.
And that's very different. The time,
it's unbelievable.
Because you don't find that out right away. You go through the whole process, right, and then you find out that it was contaminated.
Exactly. So that's a real growing area, and we're really dominant in that space based on a lot of the patents and the products that we have. And then we have the whole life science disposables, and these are all the products that are used everywhere from your high school to your college, university, all the way out to places like NIH, and we do everything there, all kinds of filtration, all the glassware, if you will, all of the plastic fluid management, and we do a bunch of really unique safety products that we've done very, very well with.
That was the best answer I've ever gotten on a podcast. I just want you to know I asked that question like 12 minutes ago.
It's all good. It's a good story.
Great.
But I love your story, and I know that there's more to come, and I can't wait to share it with everyone else. But it is interesting because in a former life I worked in a lab, bioscience lab, and cloned monoclonal antibodies and purified them and all that. And it's so amazing to me to have met you and like behind the single use where you're doing tissue culture. Everything has to be perfectly sterile. You'll lose everything. You'll lose your experiments. You'll lose everything. And we even talked about some of those HPLC stuff. And he's got carboys that help keep organic contaminants in the air so that people, you got safety, and I can't wait to hear a little bit more, but it's this is real stuff that, I want to get into a little bit about how you just like the coat hanger, how can I take a product and make it different, make it better based on the needs of the people?
Why don't you do a commercial while we wait, and then we're going to go get to that.
That question's so good. I'm like, I got to sit in that seat again.
You did.
God, Greg. All right,
commercial, and you're going to answer that question.
Absolutely.
Don't forget that question. That's a great question.
Time is flying by. So we would like to thank Pika's Bar and Pub that is on 110 Ayers right over the line.
I think it's a bar and grill.
Bar and grill.
Let you know that bar.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good, by the way. Very good.
I was literally there last night, and they give them a call at 978-683-4353. Great place, great people, great service, great food, and nicely designed by
Shout out to Wayne and Shane. Hello, guys. Thank you for sponsoring us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to shout out to the architect, Rob Hannon, did that design, and it came out really great. So thank you to Rob Hannon.
So we're back with Tom Taylor, President and CEO of Foxx Life Sciences, and my favorite store that we're going to talk about in a few minutes too. But you got to answer that question now. Do you remember it?
No.
Well,
good. Try again.
No, basically, I just wanted to hear a little bit about. So here you are. You're in the medical plastics, medical, keeping things sterile world. But can you talk a little bit about how you got to be Foxx Life Sciences? Is kind of where the story gets interesting.
Exactly. So this is quite an exciting part of the story, and that is, so what looked and seemed like a really difficult time in my life, and I was pretty bummed out because I left a great company, Millipore, and came over to the new company, Nipro, and then they decided they didn't want to pursue this. The fact of the matter is I had the chance to talk to the new CEO or the new president of the company and convince him to try to do a joint venture on some of this proprietary IP that we had come up with. And he was all about it. So we ended up forming a joint venture, and we were really excited. We started working on all these patents and new products, if you will. And from there, the downturn happened. So 2007 going into 2008, the stock market's crashing every day, and they decided they didn't want to fund it. So I went back to one of my mentors, was Charles Gelman, the founder of Gelman Sciences, the company I was talking about that got acquired by Paul. And he goes, Tom, get a spin out and just, buy out their shares. So I ended up buying 100% of basically, which was, nothing more than what we call IP, patents, and some drawings, and we had some prototype tooling, and that was it. We didn't have a product.
So you bought an idea, basically.
Right, we bought an idea.
Right.
And then started pursuing that all during 2008. I had 2 employees that joined on with me, and I spent my life savings, half of it investing into the Detroit area with real estate, and in the middle of the downturn because the housing had really crashed. And I took the other half.
Especially in Michigan.
Especially in Michigan. And then I took the other half and I put it into this business. And sure enough, by the end of 2008, I'm almost out of money. And it was pretty scary at that point in time.
So where was this venture? Where were you when you?
So I was back in my house in Windham, New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Didn't even have an office.
It's a good spot.
And
many a great company have been started out of people's houses.
And the crazy part of it is, and I show this in my office today. I mentioned the junior achievement thing, but in college, I actually did a whole project where I created a company called Foxx Life Sciences, 1986, and I still have this in my office when people walk in, and I signed it 1986, and I said, that targeting completion in 2010. And so it was a lifelong dream, I guess, is the main takeaway, to have a company someday. So anyone that's out there that's watching this, I would say that if you have a dream and you've always wanted to start your own company, go for it, because this is what can happen. And with a lot of hard work, it's been a pretty successful.
So
you get pretty lucky with a lot of hard work, too. You really do. When you put yourself out there, we've said it 3 or 4 times on our podcast that we've had people in here that have just worked hard. They've been out there, and all of a sudden, bam, an opportunity comes their way.
But here comes the good part. Yeah. I know what you're, so what happens is.
I off today. I'm like, talk about not talking over people. I'm like, whatever.
No,
she's like me last week.
But this is the interesting part. So then it looks really bad again, downturn. I go talk to every bank. Nobody wants to talk to me. VCs, investment bank, all these guys that supposedly help out small businesses. Nobody wants to put any money into it. So through the network, I'm chair of Mass Medic and Mass, which is the largest medical device, and I'm trying to find somebody interested in investing in this thing. And they recommend that I go back to Michigan, and there's a group called the Spark Group, and it was headed by a gentleman named Snyder, who ended up eventually becoming governor of Michigan. But he had recommended that I go talk to Jack Roush of NASCAR, Roush Racing, and I'm like, no. This is life science, not automotive. Tried to listen to my mother. I don't want to go back in automotive. And if I do something with an automotive company, they're not going to be serious. But sure enough, Jack Roush had just completed a joint venture with John Henry, primary owner of the Boston Red Sox, NESN Sports Network, Liverpool soccer team. And they named that Roush Fenway Racing, which still exists to this day and has been a very successful venture for John and Jack. So with that, Jack took that cash to go back and diversify what's called Roush Enterprises in Michigan, which was primarily a OEM engineering manufacturing company for automotive only. Well, as you know, GM files, Chrysler files, automotive's tanking, Detroit's in bad shape, and he had all this cash, so he wanted to diversify. So sure enough, I meet with them. At the end of 2008, we closed the deal. They became the majority shareholder. I became the minority shareholder. We established a joint venture. We rename it Roush Life Sciences. And this is where the story is really cool, and that is that business continued to go down. In one building out of 35 buildings that he has there, right in Livonia, Michigan, the suburb of Detroit, one is a tool building facility, and in that they build injection molding tools, blow molding tools, etc. And what they what they do is sell to, everybody from Chrysler, GM, Ford, even the foreign companies, Toyota, BMW, et cetera. But what was happening is the business was really drying up. 100 people in a 100 square foot building. And he was really worried about if they retired or left, they would go to Florida and they would never come back, right?
Right.
So, and these aren't the kind of people you just hire off the street, real craftsmen, that have been doing this for a long time. So we called it the Hoover Dam Project, keeping those guys employed. And he basically came to me and said, Tom, you don't need an ROI, you don't need a business plan, just to design as much stuff as you can in this life science. We'll build the tools at cost for you. You're supposed to be the chitty bang bang of product development. Let's see what you can do. And that's what we did. And we designed a ton of parts, ton of products, and $12.5 million of tooling. And the approach we took was really old school, where we went in, did observational studies, watched how people used the product, then went back and designed it, brought them different versions of it, did observational groups, let them pick out what they liked best, came back, designed it, built the tooling, launched the products. And that's what we did the first 4 years of the company. And then by 2012, automotive was up and running again. It was doing extremely well. So Jack came to me, he said, we're gonna go ahead.
We need our space back.
We we love it. It's great, but it's not really our core anymore. Yep. And they decided to sell their shares. So then all the big companies tried to come in and buy it. But the problem was there was so much money that was invested in it with no sales. And none of these guys wanted to give him the right amount. Plus, I think they knew that he was exiting, and they had some leverage, they thought.
Yep.
And he just got so frustrated after 1 year, all the way into 2013, going back and forth, and I won't mention the company's names, that finally it was one meeting where he just walked out and he said, I'm done doing this. Tom, you started the company. I know you love this company and you've put so much into it. I'll sell it to you for half of what I'd sell my shares for half what I would sell it to those guys, to you. So bought 100% of it, and luckily I went back out to the banks, and there's another point where, when he said he was going to sell his shares, I thought everything was falling apart again, but just kept going with it. And then I finally get this opportunity. I go out to the banks, and 8 out of 10 banks said no. And it was really my last call. It was to Bank of America. And I thought it was a long shot. Somebody recommended that I give Ken a call, who's the president of Bank of America here in New Hampshire, and it was McLean, my lawyers up in Manchester, who do a great job. So I give him a call. He comes in, and they took the time to really understand what was invested. They took a deeper dive than the other people, and they went forward with it. And they were great partners for 4 years, and now we've switched over to Provident Bank, who's been phenomenal because we're growing at such a crazy rate. So this will be our 5th year out of the past 6 years where we've grown over 40% per year.
Wow.
So it's been tremendous.
Super growth, supernormal growth.
Yeah.
So one of the things, too, you were talking a little bit about geography. You've got the advantage of all the biotech right down in Cambridge.
Yep.
And you've got some interesting stuff coming up in the New Hampshire area with the whole Army and Dean Kamen projects. And I'm hoping that you're making the connections up there as well. So you want to talk a little bit about where you are and how that helps grow your business.
Yeah, it's a great point. So for those that are not aware, when you think of Detroit, you think of automotive. Wherever you're at in the world, when you think of Boston, you think of biotech and all the life science that we have in Boston. Sure. It really is the main cluster. There's more density here as far as how many of these type of biotech companies we have than anywhere else in the world. California has more than us, but we have all of this, right? We're number 2, but we're actually have many more in the Boston area. So what's great is we built the company on quality. So we have 13485, which is a medical device registration on the ISO side, which brings us to a different level. We've had that for 8 years. We've even passed the new standard. We get audited by the pharmaceutical companies all the time. So despite being a smaller company, we've built in all of that really good quality. We've done all kinds of leachables and extractables and classic, all this fancy technical stuff on our products so that we can get in the door of the Lonzas and the Pfizers and all of these guys. So as you mentioned, being that type of company with the kind of growth, we've gotten a lot of exposure in New Hampshire. And New Hampshire's been fantastic. In fact, if you just look back a week ago, we had Zach Williams in from Senator Shaheen's office, came in, did the tours, worked with us. We had Cindy from the med group came in last week and met with us, and then we actually had Governor Sununu's Taylor Coswell came in last week and met with us, and even today we had one of their team members come in to help us with this whole expansion building thing that we're talking about. So it's pretty exciting, but you just got to keep working it, and there's a lot of opportunity coming up with these grants and different things. And then we have Lonza right up here in Portsmouth, done an outstanding job. We've got Pfizer down in Andover. We've got a lot of great companies right around us.
Yeah, and you don't have to jump on a plane to see them, and you don't have to, right. You can drive 20 minutes and be there in Andover.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Wow. I mean, 3 weeks in a row, I'm speechless.
Let's do a quick commercial, and then I think
we can talk about Lab Rat Gifts.
Yeah,
talk about Lab Rat Gifts.
Because in addition to that successful company, you got another one in the queue. But we do want to thank our sponsors. Success in the 603 is made possible through their support. We'd like to thank Travis Terry and Company. Travis Terry and Company CPAs is a accounting firm located at 25 Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. They make taxes less taxing. Give them a call at 603-898-2511. Tax season's going to be here before you know it. So give Travis. Thank you for your support. A call.
Yeah, love Travis too. So.
There we are.
Yeah, look at that.
We're
looking at ourselves. It's kind of creepy.
We are getting up on time. We want to make sure that we talk a little bit. We've heard a little bit about the influential people in Tom's life. But what else you got there that you want to cover?
Well, I had the pleasure of going to Lab Rat Gifts today, and I was kind of sneaking around trying to find, because everything I found online, you know how I like to do my research on our guests. Everything I found online, I knew nothing about, and I really felt bad because I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn something new when Tom comes on the show today, and I've learned a lot. And the one thing that I learned is he has this great little spot. If you're looking for Christmas gifts, it's a great little shopping center right
for the nerd in your life.
For the nerd in your life.
It's awesome.
And it's called Lab Rat Gifts. And talk about that really quick. Where'd that idea come from?
So it's a lot of fun. What happened was it started with just the idea of when we sell some Foxx products, we could give away a T-shirt or a mug or something like that. But we quickly realized that with today's software and the cell phone and the millennials, that with so much retail now going through online, that we could actually start an online business with it. So we ended up calling it Lab Rat Gifts. And Lab Rat refers to just like a gym rat, the typical scientist or technician in the lab that's constantly doing research and things like that. But as part of that, we knew if we were going to be successful there, we were going to be going up against people like Amazon and others. So Lab Rat actually sells product on Amazon also. But we also launched science T-shirts, science ties, and science mugs. And then we opened an outlet store here in Salem. We were in the malls for a little while, but we pulled back that because of the rent.
You had a couple of products, though, that were on MSN, right?
Yeah, we did.
One of them is like you can make your own candy.
Yeah. That was our claim to fame because it was kind of we didn't do a lot of press with it, but 2 years ago, MSN picked the top 100 best Cyber Friday deals, and it was Walmart, Dell, all the companies. They were all multinationals, and Lab Rat Gifts got picked. And,
nice.
That's awesome.
The very next day, we walked in, and they were trying to fulfill all these orders. It was a lot of fun. So
That's
everyone's
crazy.
like, "Wow, we made it!" But it's still kind of a hobby company, but we get a lot of press on it. We do trade shows all over the world, and the funniest story with this is we have a show called PitCon, which is a big laboratory product show that is in the United States, and we had talked them 5 or 6 years ago into letting us sell a product, at the show, and we had to get board member approval and all this stuff, and then everybody at Foxx is like, what are you going to do? We don't want to ruin Foxx's image as this biofarm, medical, but device company. So we put them all the way on the other end of the hall in a little 10-foot booth. And we were 2 days in the show, and they're stealing Foxx people to keep up with all these researchers buying mugs and hats and all kinds of fun
and T-shirts.
stuff.
Hold on, I got a T-shirt on here. I'm going to show you my T-shirt that I bought today.
There you go.
It's not that kind of show, Craig.
Which one did he get? All right. Yeah, may the force
I got
be
Newton's
with you.
second law right there. Right? Am I right? Is that Newton's second law?
Yeah, that's good. So
may the force be with you. Right? Mass times velocity.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just what do you ever use the operator?
There you go.
All right.
So all kinds of fun shirts and stuff. And then
smart.
2 years ago, we said, well, that's it. We're putting them across from us at the booth.
Yeah.
And then last year, we said, forget it. So we did a big island booth and put them all in the same booth with us. And now throughout the world, everybody knows lab rats in the science space. But really the opportunity here is for just the normal person. Because if you go and you buy them are really cool, and you were in the store today, a solar kit, we have Barbie scientist kits, we have perfume science, we have chocolate, we have this, all telescopes, microscopes. And what's cool is your child can start playing with this stuff when they're young. Next thing you know, they're joining the chemistry club at school. Next thing you know, they go to school for their biochemistry degree. Next thing you know, they're working for Pfizer or Lonza or one of these type companies, making more money than mom and dad.
Nice.
So that's, and they kids love this stuff. They really enjoy playing with it.
I gotta show people here. If we're live, I got my lab rat bag. I got Donna something.
You did?
I'm gonna give you the flu, Donna.
Ah, look at
It's
that.
a little flu. It's a little flu microbe. Isn't that the
Look
cutest
at
thing
that.
ever?
That
This is the kind of flu that you
that's
want.
great.
Absolutely.
Isn't that cute?
So for those that are just podcasting,
Yeah.
it's this little
And I got
blue
my cool
flu
lab rat gifts mugs.
Ah, there
We're
you
gonna
go.
have those
Yeah,
guys there.
we have 5 different lab rats. They all have personalities, and one's a chemist, one's a biologist. They all have little stories
And
to
I
them.
got a gift for Ed, our producer.
All right, Ed.
Ed,
See, we didn't
right?
forget
Now
you.
we're
I got Ed.
talking.
See
All right.
this? I got him this shirt, which I love too. It says, "I've lost an electron," and the other Adam's like, "You positive?" So a little geek. I'm Dave. I'm a nerd. I can't help it. Donna and I talked about this the other night. I'm on.
Well, thank you.
That's for you, Ed.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for all your help. And he's the silent worker behind the scenes. You know that we're doing well when Ed's not talking. Just
There
to
you
let
go.
you know.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah.
So, you talked about your major influence in your life. We'll get that
Yeah.
really quick. Plus, I want to go into. I know you've got a quote for us because I got. What time do you get up in the morning? We're doing an experiment.
Well, it all depends on the day, honestly. So
Monday.
I would say at 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's reasonable.
Is
yeah,
it?
It is. It's reasonable. Yeah. But you're getting stuff done.
Yeah,
It's not. You're not sleeping in.
Yeah.
So who was? You talked about one of your major influences already, but
Yeah.
who else? I mean, it sounds like your mom and your dad. Number one.
So,
you know.
I mean, my father was a great, and my mom. I think I was lucky because I had 2 really good parents, and they were very much focused on education and don't quit and work hard. So the work ethic was a big part of what I grew up with. You got out, shoveled the snow, mowed the lawn, and if you needed extra money, you had to go knock on the neighbors' doors to do it. And I'm kind of proud of both of my kids because that's the way they were raised, and they're out of the house and they're very successful in what they're doing. And with my father, that's where the name Foxx Life Sciences came from. Actually, what happened was when he was in the Navy, he got promoted to head radar controlman, and they nicknamed him Foxx, the sly fox on the lookout on the Navy ship.
Yep.
And that was his nickname, the Fox. So when I was born, they gave me the name Thomas Fox Taylor. So I always loved how catchy it was. And this was before Fox News and all the Fox we know.
This is the 2 X's, by the way. It's not the 1 X.
And what he did is he actually added the X to make it a little bit different. And so when I had the chance to do this, I named the real estate company Foxx Enterprises and then Foxx Life Sciences. And that's how that all got started.
I was going to ask that question, but then naming your child the middle name of Foxx is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So how about a good quote? We got a Santo Insurance. He's one of our great sponsors too. We've been lucky on this podcast. We've got 3 great sponsors right away. I mean, a lot of podcasts go a long time before they get any sponsors, and we've just been blessed. I mean, you guys are great out there. Please keep supporting us, follow us, share us, do all of that stuff. Please, I appreciate it. So let's hear your Santo Insurance quote of the week for us.
Yeah. So I love quotes, and but I've always had a quote that I pretty much talk about all the time with all my employees, and it's kind of a motivator for myself and has been through my whole career, and that is, time is the enemy. time is the enemy, and I really feel that way. Seems like the older you get, the faster the year goes by. I'm sure you all feel that.
No.
And but it's also, time kills all deals. But when you look at time as the enemy, you realize that you're only here on Earth for a very short period of time. I always ask people...
And you have no idea how much that time is. So.
Right, exactly. And I always ask people, how many people do you know that lived 150 years ago, right?
Right.
And when you think of 150 years and when you look at how long the Earth's been around, that is just like nothing, right? And we're only here for a short period of time, and that's kind of an internal motivation that, do the best you can, work as hard as you can, and really try to, make something of your life and have the purpose that a lot of people talk about. But it also comes with product development, time to market with new products, comes down to, timelines with whatever you're doing in an organization. You're always up against the clock. And if you think that way, chances are you'll have that velocity and that momentum to get things done quicker. And that's one of our big advantages, we feel, and one of the things we talk about a lot at Foxx Life Sciences is that we're up against a few multi-billion-dollar companies. Most of our competitors, honestly, have been bought out, and so then here's Foxx. But just like a tanker, if it wants to turn left, it takes a mile to turn left, and we're in a speedboat, and we can turn on a dime. And that's the mindset of our company. They may be bigger, they may have more money, but let's move quick, let's be more innovative, let's be more creative, and let's launch products faster.
I call those big companies glaciers. They're always going to be moving forward, but to try to push them to the left or right or try to maneuver them is going to be a very difficult task.
And I think one of the most unique things about Foxx, if there was something to highlight about it, is the fact that for 8 years, we had over 70% of the workforce was 30 or younger, which is unheard of. So everyone's talked about the millennials. We had a lot of millennials. We still have about 50 to 55% millennials at Foxx. And what we do is we really go out and look for people that have that energy and that excitement, positive attitude. And we've been very successful with it. So it's a really good group, very diversified company. I believe in strength through diversity. We sell products all over the world. So we have 2 Indians on the team. We have 2 Italians on the team. We have 2 Chinese on the team. We have a little bit of everything. But the beauty of that is we sell products all over the world. So the Mandarin can speak Mandarin. You've got the Italians that can speak Italian, and that gives us that little bit extra punch that a lot of companies don't have also. So we're pretty proud of that.
You understand the cultures a lot better too, and you understand the way to do
lots
business
of teamwork,
in those
and you get these different cultures and backgrounds and mindsets, and a lot of passionate. We have a passionate group. So I'm really super proud of my team, and I think that's the biggest part of any good company is you got to have good people, and if they're a team and they all work together, just like the Red Sox, you see what happens.
Absolutely.
So, and I think we have that.
Tom, I love your story. I'm glad you came to share it with us. I think what I get out of meeting you, and I've heard it a couple times, but it's just your positive attitude, your persistence, even when you're buying real estate in Detroit, you think outside the box. I mean, and you don't give up, and you followed that dream, and I think that is such a good message for our viewers out there about how to be successful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thanks so much for the invite. It's very exciting, and I tell you, this success in 603 is exciting to me, and you guys have done a great job with it.
You've been an exciting part about it. I actually had the chance to talk to Eknath in your marketing department, and I said, tell me about him. He said, one of the hardest working people I know. He said he just works so hard, and he said he loves working for you. And he actually said hello to us on the Facebook Live. So
it's fantastic.
Appreciate it. How are you? Thanks for watching. And Donna?
Yeah, Tom, thank you. You've been wicked awesome company.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.